One, two. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got the Kansas City Chiefs are not who you think they are. Let's check this out.
The Kansas City Chiefs finished the 2024 season with a 15-2
like I said in previous vids,
for the third straight year.
AFC West is wide open. I understand they've won the division like the past 5-6+ years. The AFC West is wide open because last year, let's keep it a buck. Every team in the AFC West should have beat the Chiefs this last season, bro. Broncos should have swept them. Chargers should have beat them at least once. Raiders should have beat them at least once. If we keep it in a buck, bro. They kept getting saved by the refs and all this devil magic bullshit they had last year. But let's keep it a buck, bro. In my opinion, Chiefs might finish at least second or third in the division. I got the Broncos winning that division this year, but I ain't gonna lie, they might finish behind the Broncos and the Chargers if I'm keeping it a buck with y'all.
For the Chiefs, they did not become the first team in NFL history to three-peat, as they were absolutely dominated by the Philadelphia Eagles with a score of 40-22. And an 18-point loss is obviously bad, but as we all know, this game was not a normal 18-point loss. I think they're gonna have a Super Bowl hangover for the first time. The Eagles were up 34-0 at a point in this game, as well as 40-6, and the Chiefs scored 2 touchdowns with less than 3 minutes to play. It was a brutal end of the season for Kansas City, and for everyone who was waiting for the shoe to fall all season long, it finally happened in this game. Kansas City narrowly won not just 1 or 2 games during the 2024 regular season, but about a dozen games, and people were sick of the Chiefs winning in the manner they did. And
it's another thing too. Look, this another thing too. The Kansas City Chiefs had 11 one-score games in 2024. What they were like, what, 15-2? What 15-2 team has 11 one-score games? Like, come on, gang. No, like, they didn't really blow out no teams last year, bro. You know what I'm saying?
We're going to discuss why the Chiefs are going to make some big changes soon.
Let's make it make sense.
Now, a preface for this video is, if you think these changes are going to result in me saying the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs entirely, and that they're going to be an 8-win team in 2025, then this video is not for you. They're still a really good team and a really well-run organization.
They do got a good squad. I just feel like their time is coming to an end, bro.
And there is a lot to break down in today's video, and without further ado,
you know what I'm saying? They still got Andy Reid, so who knows? I could just be saying bullshit right now, but I just feel like their time is coming to an end, bro. Them being the best team in the AFC every year, especially the AFC West. I just don't think they're going to be able to sustain that for much longer.
And we are starting today's video by discussing what one of the biggest weaknesses for the Chiefs in 2024 was, and it was undoubtedly the offensive line. The Chiefs couldn't consistently run the football, as they finished 29th in yards per attempt as a team and finished 22nd
what is this
in
running
rushing
back
yards.
room they got going
They had
on,
a 29-year-old Kareem Hunt take the majority of the carries for them.
Kareem Hunt, Isaiah Pacheco, Elijah Mitchell, and they drafted Bashar Smith. That's got to be the most random running back room
last year, and averaged just 3.6 yards per carry. And I would argue it was a miracle the Chiefs even got to the Super Bowl to begin with. In years past, I think the belief has been, oh well, it's the Chiefs, they'll figure it out, they're a good team, and we'll see just how good they are in January, and there's a reason for that. The worst season they've had since Patrick Mahomes became
Tom Brady back
in 2018 is an AFC Championship game loss, which of course happened twice. The very first year he started in 2018, and the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl in 2021. Kansas City going to the Super Bowl in 5 of the past 6 years is downright insane, and I certainly don't expect them to do that in 5 of the next 6 years, obviously, but what I do expect to change, and something that has already changed a bit over the past 2 years, is the rate at which they hit on draft picks. And over the past few years, the Lions have done a tremendous job of nailing their draft picks and hitting on them at a high rate, and that's one of the biggest reasons as to why the Lions have been as successful as they have over the past few years. Whether it was hitting on
I feel like that's how every team should do, bro. Build their teams through the draft instead of just trying to go out and overpay niggas in free agency, bro. The draft is the wave now.
Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and several others. You get the point.
So look at my Ravens from the ground up.
And the reason we bring the Lions up in the Chiefs video is to say the Chiefs have also done a tremendous job at hitting on their picks over the past few years, and enough credit cannot be given to GM Brett Veach, former assistant GM Mike Bergonzi, who is now with the Titans, and the rest of the scouting department, and of course the coaches for coaching the players up. And Chiefs fans, of course, know this, but the main reason I bring this up with the Chiefs specifically is the national media usually talks about 3, sometimes 4 people within the Chiefs organization as to why they've won 3 Super Bowls over the past 6 years, and they are National media usually talks about 3, sometimes 4 people within the Chiefs organization.
This is all on Eddie Jackson, bro. What the fuck is he doing?
Is the national media usually talks about 3, sometimes 4 people.
Marlowe's playing zone
within the Chiefs organization.
Zone. So there should be a safety back here. What the fuck? What the fuck are these 2 niggas doing, bro?
Like, I'm so glad why they've won 3 Super Bowls over the past 6 years. And they are, of course, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid. And the 4th is, of course, defensive tackle Chris Jones. I don't think it's discussed enough that the Chiefs nailed the 2021 draft by selecting 2 offensive linemen in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, and that not 1 but 2 players selected outside of the first round signed a second contract to stay with the team. And the success rate within the NFL draft is low, as about a third of first-round picks are stars, about a third are average, and the other third are usually draft busts. And if that's in the first round, then it's obviously a lot lower outside of the first round. And I know Trey Smith specifically fell to pick 226 in 2021 due to a heart condition that scared teams away, but the Chiefs still hit on the pick and he is still on the team. And based on not only the Super Bowl loss against the Bucs, but the recent Super Bowl loss against the Eagles too, I'd be very surprised if a long-term contract isn't worked out with Trey Smith at some point. Trey Smith is currently on a franchise tag, which is a 1-year deal, and a lot of the time that is used to buy time to work out a long-term deal with a said player. And not only were Humphrey and Smith both selected in the 2021 draft, but so was linebacker Nick Bolton, who signed a 3-year, $45 million deal to stay in KC this offseason. Bolton has been a really solid contributor for the Chiefs over the past few years, and I thought they were going to let him walk in free agency. He has 3 100 tackle seasons in 4 years, and the only year he didn't have 100 tackles, he
definitely
only played in 8 games. And given that Kansas City was coming off of a Super Bowl loss when this draft happened, this was about as good of a class as you could have hoped for, especially considering they didn't have a first-round pick because they traded it in a pick swap for former Ravens offensive tackle and current Bengals offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr. And the end of the Chiefs' 2021 season was very un-Chiefs-like, as they lost at home in the AFC Championship game to the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was a couple of weeks after the Bengals beat them in the regular season, in which Jamar Chase had the 266-yard performance, and then the Bengals eventually beat the Chiefs in the 2022 regular season, and that was when the Cincinnati mayor called a Burrowhead and then said that Burrow was Mahomes' daddy and everything along those lines. But anyway, the point being, the Chiefs had to nail the 2022 draft, and it was going to be difficult because they were not selecting in the top 5 or 10, and their first pick was actually a pick 21, as they traded up to go get Washington corner Trent McDuffie, and they had 2 first-round picks due to the Tyreek Hill trade. And the Chiefs traded up with the Patriots, who traded back to go take a 3rd-round guard in Cole Strange, and that trade, ironically, was a representation of how each of the team's seasons would go over the next couple of years, though I do think the Patriots are certainly on an upward trajectory now, but the past couple of years were rough for the Patriots, while the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls and went to a 3rd. And the reality of the NFL draft is, if you could tell a GM heading into the draft that they're going to select a first-team All-Pro, whether it's number 1 overall, whether it's number 21 overall like Trent McDuffie was, or number 153 overall, they would sign up for that without a doubt, not knowing what the rest of the draft is. Whether they draft 6, 7, or 8 other draft busts, depending on how many selections that team has within a specific draft, they would sign up for the 1 first-team All-Pro without a doubt. But Kansas City didn't draft just 1 first-team All-Pro in Trent McDuffie. They drafted another really good pass rusher in George Karlaftis, who has been a really good Robin to Chris Jones' Batman along the defensive line over the past few years, and who has racked up several postseason sacks in the first 3 years of his career too. Unfortunately, they did whiff on one of their second-round picks, as the Chiefs, nor any organization is perfect, as Sky Moore did not work out, but they also selected Cincinnati safety Brian Cook, who has been a really solid player for Kansas City over the first 3 years of his career. In the 3rd round, they selected Wisconsin linebacker Leo Chenal, who is one of my favorite players on the Chiefs roster, and a guy who I think could play in any era, and a player who has contributed in key ways over the first few years of his career. They also had 3 really good contributing 7th round picks, and for any team to have not just 1 7th round pick that starts a few games here and there, but to have 3 good contributing 7th round picks goes to show what type of class this was for the Chiefs back in 2022. They were DB Jalen Watson, running back Isaiah Pacheco, and corner Najee Johnson, and while Watson and Najee Johnson aren't exactly household names, the fact that the Chiefs had starting games from them and were able to get some production from them, despite being late day 3 selections, goes to show truly how great of a draft this was. Now, obviously, expecting that type of draft class every year is unrealistic, and every year in the draft process, the G word or the generational word gets tossed around far too often, but I don't think it's an exaggeration to say the 2022 Chiefs draft class was generational for this franchise.
It was his one celebration when that nigga would act like he was a bad bitch running down a runway. I was like, hold up now, bro.
The only class that I think really comes close to it is 2017, mainly because of the trade up for Mahomes and also drafting a rushing champion in Kareem Hunt, who won the rushing title in his rookie season back in 2017. But aside from those two drafts, that was the best draft class that the Chiefs have had in the past 15 years, as there was production everywhere. But 2023 was a more realistic representation of what the NFL draft is like for a lot of other franchises. There's one really good player.
What did they see in this nigga right here, bro? Other than he was from Kansas State. Like, real shit, he hasn't done a damn thing for them. Like, either they don't know how to use him, or he's just that bad. Cause I haven't heard anything about him. Rasheed Rice, I don't understand how he fell as far as he did to number 55. The rest of these niggas, I mean, Shamari Connors is okay. You know what I'm saying? These other niggas I don't know. I'm going to keep it above.
Rice, who I think can be a consistent 1,000-yard player, and he's shown that over the first 20 games of his career, as he unfortunately tore his ACL early in the 2024 season. But the other selections really outside of Shamari Connor, and that's borderline, were not great. Offensive tackle Wanye Morris was selected in the 3rd round. He was benched. He didn't play well, and there was a reason he was selected late on day 2 of the 2023 draft. There's one player within the 2023 Chiefs class that if you want to hold out hope for, by all means, go for it, because he is still a young player, and it's the 1st-round pick, Felix Anudike-Uzomah from Kansas State. He was a developmental pass-rushing prospect, and I didn't mind this pick when it was made because I thought he was going to a really good situation, as he would get to play behind both Chris Jones and George Karlaftis from an offensive line's perspective, where he would at minimum be the 3rd on the totem pole, but he's really yet to break the starting lineup and really play meaningful snaps. So I don't have the highest hopes for Anudike-Uzomah at this point, and I think some of the moves the Chiefs have made over the past couple of offseasons also signify that they don't have a lot of hope in Felix Anudike-Uzomah either. But if he does pan out, I will be the first to admit that, hey, I was wrong. I didn't have a lot of hope with him heading into 2025, and I wish him the best moving forward. The 2024 Chiefs draft class is only a year into their career, so it's not possible to say whether or not we know for sure whether the class is going to pan out or not, but they only had 2 selections in the top 100, one of which I don't think is going to pan out, and that's second-year offensive lineman Kingsley Suamataia. He wasn't the best in his rookie year. He got beat time and time again, and he only had about 131 pass-blocking snaps, and he allowed 14 pressures, which is a rate of over 10% per pressure allowed, which is not good. And their other selection in the top 100 was...
That's tough on him, too. I ain't gonna lie.
Per pressure allowed, which is not good. And
that's tough on him because the tight end didn't really help at all. He just pushed him out further, and Suamataia is how you pronounce it. Bro, I always butcher his name. But this nigga couldn't even get out there in time for Benito to get around the edge.
Of course, Texas wide receiver.
You can't really put that on him, bro.
Whenever a player like Xavier Worthy, or of course like Tyreek Hill, is paired with a player like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, the guys that have the big gunslinging arms, who are paired with speedster receivers, obviously the best is projected. And obviously we saw that with Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes in the early parts of Mahomes' career. I think it's a little unfair to Xavier Worthy at times, the expectations that are placed on him because of who his quarterback is. And I also think Patrick Mahomes has fallen off a little bit over the past couple of years, which we are going to dive into shortly. I don't think the Chiefs 2024 class is going to be all that good in the long run, and I do also want to credit defensive back Jaden Hicks for having a couple of interceptions during his rookie season, but you are really setting yourself behind the 8 ball when you only have 2 selections in the top 100, and I think the Chiefs 2024 draft class is a good representation of that, especially when one of their top 100 picks last year didn't work out or didn't play well in his rookie season. Now, aside from the draft class success from 2021 and 2022 and having to pay those guys and having to continuously hit on draft picks, which again is a near impossible task, there is an elephant in the room that a lot of people either don't want to discuss, do not acknowledge, or do not realize what's happening in real time. And it's that Patrick Mahomes has had a really down last 2 years. Now, that's a pretty loud stance, and I do not scream loud takes just for the sake of having a loud...
Alright, so last year, I mean, he finished top 10 in pass yards, 26 touchdowns to 11 picks. QBR is solid, you know what I'm saying? 11 picks is kind of... This wasn't even really a bad year, but for Mahomes standards, kinda. You know what I'm saying? In 2023, I mean, he threw for 4,000 yards. The touchdown interception ratio is not good at all, though. 27 touchdowns to 14 picks. God damn! Hold up. I didn't know Mahomes was launching double-digit picks for the last 4 seasons in a row. Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, he is throwing for hella yards, 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns to 12 picks. I think this was the year he won the MVP, right? I mean, like the yards is always gonna be good for Mahomes, but he is throwing hella interceptions. God damn. Hey, bro. I don't know. I still feel like Mahomes is a good quarterback.
Patrick Mahomes in 2024 at times was not a good player. He wasn't awful, but he certainly wasn't a good player either. And there was a lot of meat left on the bone for what the Chiefs' offense could have been last year, even despite the injuries they sustained and the players they were down. However, I also want to acknowledge that it would be ridiculous to expect Patrick Mahomes to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns every year, the way he did back in 2018, or throw for 5,200 yards and 41 touchdowns like he did in 2022, and to basically say, Patrick, these are the expectations, and you are disappointing everyone if you don't live up to that. That, of course, would not be fair to him or anyone to have that level of expectations. But over the final
that's how the
4
media
games,
portray this nigga, bro. They love glazing him. They think that this nigga's the best quarterback of all time. He need to throw for this so yards, this so touchdowns and shit like that. But in reality, bro, like he just a normal quarterback like everybody else, bro. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna be perfect every year. You know what I'm saying? So
played in the
media
regular
need to
season
stop
in
portraying him
2024,
like that.
Patrick Mahomes was just one of 15.
And that's the only reason why I like
dislike
Mahomes sometimes, bro.
And some of the misses in this span were
it's nothing against
bad.
Mahomes.
They were bad decisions.
Anybody who gotta put up with Jackson Mahomes and his wife. Now his wife has calmed down, so I'll give her props. And did y'all see that picture of her too? I think she got her tits done. Oh, no shit. Hey, them shits are sitting right. I'm gonna keep it a buck, but anybody who got to deal with that, plus on top of his father, like for a person who got to deal with all that, bro, you know what I'm saying? You got to give him his props.
Were throws that should have never been made, and they were choices you wouldn't expect a rookie to make, let alone Patrick Mahomes of all players. The first was on a 3rd and 4 with about 6 minutes left in the first quarter, and the Chiefs are running a pre-snap motion mesh concept with Justin Watson running a clear out. The Browns sent 6, and even pre-snapped, it looked like it was going to be man-to-man across the board, which it was, and Mahomes has Xavier Worthy, the guy who ran the fastest 40 in the history of the NFL, wide open on the underneath part of the mesh concept that would have easily picked up the first down, as Juju Smith-Schuster did a great job of throwing an unofficial pick in the route to clear space for him, yet Mahomes looks to launch, then regathers himself, then takes 2 steps up into the pocket, and inexplicably throws a prayer into double coverage to Justin Watson of all players. Now, I know the Chiefs' offensive line struggled during the 2024 season, but this was a play I will never understand the thought process, and by the way, credit to the Chiefs' offensive line for blocking good on this play. And this is admittedly getting a little too far ahead of myself, but there is a chance Xavier Worthy gets rid of Denzel Ward and turns this into a 30-plus yard gain because nobody would have been near him on that side of the field. But to throw a ball in the first quarter in double coverage with a clear option open underneath is a bad process. There was also a play later in the game where Casey was running play action and Xavier Worthy was running a corner post, and I don't know if this was a miscommunication because Xavier probably could have straightened his route out enough to try and make a play on this ball, but this was another play by Mahomes where I think he should have taken what was in front of him. Travis Kelce runs a swirl route and sits down in zone coverage, and we've all had our favorite team play the Chiefs over the years, and we've all had Travis Kelce make a 15 or 20 or 25 yard play against our team that leaves us yelling at the TV, how can you not guard him when everyone knows he's going to get the football, and this should have been one of those plays. This is just a 2-play sample of some of the Chiefs' mishaps over the 2024 season, but there were several times where Mahomes left a lot of meat on the bone. And again, I am more willing to dismiss the second play than I am the first play, though I'm still not a fan of the Worthy read when Kelce had a first down right in front of him. One other thing that may be shocking or may not be after going over a few plays with Mahomes in 2024 was how low his deep ball completion percentage was last year. He completed just 12 of 46 passes that were 20 or more yards down the field for a completion percentage of just 26.1%. Obviously, every quarterback's completion percentage is going to be lower when throwing the ball that far, but you may be surprised to know that he was 36th in completion percentage on passes 20 or more yards down the field out of 43 possible quarterbacks, just one spot of the Colts, Anthony Richardson. Now, again, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is a bad quarterback, because obviously he's not, but since the start of the 2023 season, when the league really put an emphasis on stopping big passing plays and really started to play a more too-high shell pre-snap, the Chiefs' offense has been altered significantly, and so has Patrick Mahomes' numbers. Earlier in his career, he was at minimum a 36 to 37 passing touchdown guy, really aside from the 2019 season when he dislocated his knee and missed a couple of games, but he won 2 MVPs in the first 5 years starting, right? And there's a reason for that. He was on another level. Now, like we said earlier, it's not fair to expect him or anybody to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns every year, but he was on another level, and his reputation carried him for a reason, and it's because he was that guy. But over the last 2 years, Mahomes has not been the same player, and I'm really interested to see how the Chiefs answer the too high structure more in the 2025 season as they get more healthy and as they have more guys back, and I really hope we see the Chiefs' offensive line play better throughout the 2025 season than we saw at times throughout the 2024 season. Now, one thing I do want to be clear, and to be fair to Patrick Mahomes, is there were a lot of times on tape where there was nowhere to throw the football. Whether the defense was running cover 1, cover 2, quarters, a fire zone, a man blitz off the backside, whatever the case may be, there were plenty of times where Mahomes had absolutely nowhere to go. And this is not a classic case of an armchair quarterback sitting there where he says, well, this guy made a cut and he was open for 0.02 seconds, so Mahomes has to hit that throw with anticipation. I think that's incredibly toxic, and there's a lot of people online that like to have those types of insights where if this guy is open for even a quarter of a second, that's NFL open and he has to make that play, and if he's not, then he's not good enough to play in my team. There were instances where Mahomes quite literally had nowhere to go with the football, and I do at least want to point that out because the Chiefs' 2024 offense at times was abysmal, whether it was the offensive line not blocking or whether it was the receivers not getting open downfield. Both things can be true, where the offense wasn't good, and there were also reads that Mahomes had that were directly in front of him that he simply didn't make, and I hope we see less of that in 2025 and that we get a more efficient Patrick Mahomes that takes what's in front of him rather than big play hunt when he doesn't need to. And over the course of the next offseason or two, they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make. Travis Kelce is 35 going on 36. Chris Jones is 30 going on 31 and obviously plays a very physically demanding position along the defensive line. Andy Reid is also getting up there in age too, and the 2022 draft class is going to need either contract extensions, traded before another team gives them a big contract, or they're going to test the waters of free agency. Patrick Mahomes will, of course, be around, and I know he signed a big $450 million contract extension, but his contract is as flexible as it gets because the guarantees weren't all that much when he signed, so there really is no worries with the Mahomes contract in the grand scheme of things. But one thing's for sure, there's going to be a lot of change in the Chiefs organization over the next couple of years. They are a vulnerable team. They're not the big, bad, invincible Chiefs the way the media makes them out to be, and I can't wait to see how all this plays out over the course of the next couple of years. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel tremendously, as well as helps with the almighty YouTube algorithm. We're closing in on 200,000 subscribers, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Hey, man, this was a great-ass vid. I ain't gonna lie. But, hey, man, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.